Hi there. So, you know what's really disturbing to me? All of these African militant groups on the rise. Because of so much instability in certain areas of the continent, it's like every time you turn around, a sect is waging jihad or some other religious war against its own people. Anyway, these groups couldn't exist if it were not for some of Africa's most ruthless, rebel-minded leaders. Let's take a look at them. All right. Iyad Ghali, or Iyad Ghali, hope I said that right. He's a popular Malian Tuareg militant and founder of Mali's national movement for the liberation of Azawad, and he's the leader of Mali-based Ansardine terrorist group. Ghali has been fighting for Tuareg's independence from Mali since the 1980s, and he's sort of like a father to that rebellion. Anyway, Ghali and his men really rose up during Mali's 2012 coup that overthrew President Touré. Ghali used the instability within the country to grab control of key cities in northern Mali, and his whole mission is to impose strict Sharia law throughout the country. Music was banned and women were ordered to cover up, and it's reported that Ansardine militants paraded around with the head of a dead soldier on a stick. That's just sad. Now check this out though. Ghali wasn't always this radical. He's known for drinking, enjoying partying, like he liked whiskey, and he was once a Mali government-appointed diplomat. And he was used several times as a negotiator for Al-Qaeda hostages. But things went sour when he made a trip to Pakistan and thus became radicalized. Today, the US has him down as a global terrorist. Here's a news report about the clashes between the Tuareg rebels and Mali government.
And fighting. Soldiers say the Tuareg separatists attacked an army unit stationed outside a bank in the center of the deserted town. But this report, contradicted by the Tuareg rebels, who through their spokesman insisted the Malian soldiers had opened fire on an MNLA vehicle, injuring 3 men who were inside. The incident in Kidal comes just 2 days after a grenade attack outside the same bank in which 2 Malian soldiers were wounded, and also 3 days after the MNLA rebels ended a ceasefire with the newly elected government. MNLA fighters had agreed to remain in the barracks in Kidal under a June ceasefire deal to allow presidential elections to go ahead in the remote region. The group broke off the deal on Thursday after it claimed the Malian president Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta had failed to live up to his promises. The rebels stated that the president was supposed to hold talks with them within 2 months of him taking office. Recent days have seen escalation in violence in northern Mali, but locals hope that the 12,600-strong UN peacekeeping force to be deployed in the country will bring about the much-needed stability.
Okay, next is Omar Ould Hamaha. I'm gonna have a time with these names today. Omar Ould Hamaha. He describes his militia role as in charge of security for jihad in northern Mali. He's another leader within Mali's Ansardine, and he's the spokesman for the movement for oneness and jihad in West Africa. He has a real distinctive look with his henna-dyed goatee, which some reports say he takes great pride in making sure it's dyed perfectly. Anyway, Hamaha is nicknamed Haka or Ak because of his skill in using the AK-47. Okay. And the guy has a dangerous knowledge of abductions, which he heavily engages in, and like many other militants, he's acquired millions in ransom money. He's credited with the 2008 Niger kidnapping of Canadian diplomat Robert Fowler and colleagues. They were held for 130 days, and Hamaha, who is known to pick up calls from journalists, once said, "Ah, yes, the Canadian that we kidnapped, I don't regret it at all," and that was in the New York Times. Now, he's also affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic Maghreb, and a $3 million reward for information on his location is being offered by the US. Here's an AFP clip of Hamaha explaining his whole mission.
Toutes les révolutions qui ne sont pas au nom de l'islam, nous sommes contre. Et on est venu pour pratiquer l'islam au nom d'Allah. Ce message est envoyé à la France, aux États-Unis et à tous les pays de l'OTAN. Leur dire que les moujahidines sont prêts à l'offensive à n'importe quel moment. Nous ne sommes pas là pour dominer les villes. Nous sommes là pour le jihad, pour propager le message du prophète Mohammed sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Et on est venu ici sans les concerter. Et quand on va sortir, on ne va pas les concerter. On est venu au nom de la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. On est prêt à défendre la religion jusqu'au dernier degré. On est prêt à combattre la France, les États-Unis, tous les pays de l'OTAN. Et on considère que toute leur puissance n'est qu'une toile d'araignée. Comment nous menacer avec une toile d'araignée? Vous nous menacez avec notre souhait et le martyr. On doit vivre en bon musulman, en bon pratiquant ou que l'on meurt en martyr.
All right, let's move on. Ahmed Abdi Godon, he is the most notorious leader within Somalia's Al-Shabaab terrorist group, which in Arabic means party of the youth. I should put that in. He is the mastermind behind last year's deadly Nairobi, Kenya Westgate Mall attacks, where 68 people were killed. And for declaring allegiance to Al-Qaeda, the U.S. has put a $7 million reward out for his capture. Now, this guy is really interesting. He's something like a brainiac who incites Somali youth through poetry. Now, as a schoolboy, he received scholarships to study accounting in Pakistan, where he would begin his extreme jihad training. Now, he allegedly never makes appearances and said to be reclusive and only communicates with his members through audio recordings. Anyway, besides leading the Westgate attacks, he also claimed responsibility for the 2010 World Cup bombings in Uganda's capital, Kampala, where 74 people were killed. And that's not all. The man is piously ferocious. It's known that he has killed many in cold blood who got in his way, even his own brothers within the sect. Here's a clip of Al-Shabaab members carrying out the Westgate Mall attacks.
On the ground floor, what is a normal setting rapidly changes. People start running into the mall from an unseen threat. This guard, who can be seen trying to communicate using some handheld gadget, is on all fours. A woman who was on the way out quickly makes a turn and runs inside the mall. The cause of the panic soon becomes apparent as two terrorists walk into camera view in the now deserted area. A gunman is seen approaching a security guard trying to take cover. He shoots him at close range and moves. Soon after, another gunman looks at the security guard trying to move his feeble body to get help. He shoots him again, at least 5 times to be precise. The activities at the mall were interrupted by rapid bursts of fire only a few meters away. Initially reported as a robbery, it soon became apparent that the Westgate attack was more than that. Striding towards the entrance to the mall are 4 men firing at anyone on their path as they went in.
No words. All right, Joseph Kony. We all know him, right? Thanks to that controversial Kony 2012 documentary. He's Ugandan and leader of the Lord's Resistance Army. And since about the early 90s, Kony has been leading a sort of religious war against the Ugandan government under Yoweri Museveni, where he wants Uganda to basically become a theocratic state or a godly deity-type rude country. I don't know. Kony is reported to be something like a mystic prophet who is possessed by numerous spirits. According to his followers, he can't be killed. And the thing that makes Kony so ruthless is his act of forcing children into the LRA, with reports showing that between 1986 and 2009, nearly 60,000 children were recruited into the LRA. And you know the story, right? Kony would have them kill their families, the girls would become sex slaves, and so many more atrocities would happen. And although today the LRA has significantly diminished, the group is still active. Today they're allegedly based within the bush in between Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and South Sudan. But no matter what, Kony is still among one of Africa's most wanted rebel leaders. In 2001, the US designated him as a global terrorist, and a $5 million reward is being offered for information on his whereabouts. And that's not all. An outstanding ICC arrest warrant is still open. Here's the famous Kony interview on Journeyman Pictures.
I'm am also, I have eye, I have brain, I wear clothes also.
Describe yourself to me. Tell me who you are.
I'm a military position who is fighting in Uganda. I'm a freedom fighter who is fighting for freedom in Uganda. But I'm not a terrorist.
But the manner used to achieve these political aims has been horrific. Thousands of child fighters and civilians have been slaughtered. Hacking off lips, ears and limbs are just some of the methods used by this ruthless rebel group.
You have been accused of terrible crimes. You know, people having their ears cut off, people having their lips cut out.
Yes. That one is not true. That is propaganda which Museveni made.
I've seen the photos of people with no lips.
Yes. That is propaganda which Museveni made. Let me tell you clear.
All right, let's move on. Abubakar Shekau, you know he's the commander and spiritual leader of Nigeria's dreaded Boko Haram group, which translates to Western education is forbidden. Now, Shekau, said to be in his late 30s or early 40s, is the most wanted man in Nigeria and the top most wanted Islamist militant jihad leader in Africa, with the US putting a $7 million bounty out for his capture. The Nigerian government also put up 50 million naira. Yes, 50 million. So Shekau assumed his position as Boko Haram leader after the group's founding leader, Mohammed Yusuf, was killed. And their whole mission is to establish Sharia law in Nigeria, banning anything Western. Anyway, Shekau is described as a fearless and gangsterish type of guy with a quiet disposition. In 2009, rumors emerged that he was killed, but that's not likely, as he's been appearing in recent videos claiming responsibility for several attacks. And you know about the atrocities of Boko Haram, right? Northern Nigeria is seeing its worst days. And remember Nigeria's United Nations bombing in 2011? Yes, remember? Boko Haram has killed thousands of people between 2001 and 2013 and have displaced up to 90,000 people, according to the BBC. So anyway, Shekau is nicknamed Darul Tawhid, which refers to his knowledge of Allah's oneness, which to me seems like a total contrast to the group's mass killings. I don't get it. Now here's a clip showing how Boko Haram attacked this day newspapers in Nigeria. That's crazy, right? All right, moving on. 42-year-old Mokhtar Belmokhtar. He's an Algerian terrorist and former leader of the Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. Now, he's known to have an extensive militant rap sheet. Many analysts describe him as uncatchable because of his many hideouts in the Sahara Desert. Now, he was once, or probably still is, a notorious Sahara Desert smuggler of cigarettes, people, diamond, drugs, you name it. And he is a ruthless kidnapper who makes about $3 million in ransom from European captives. According to the US State Department, he has gotten up to $50 million from kidnappings. It's a lot of money from kidnappings. And that's how he finances all of his militant activities. Anyway, Belmokhtar became interested in jihad at a young age, and he was likely influenced by an uncle. So at 19, he went off to Afghanistan for training, where he will lose his left eye dealing with explosives. Anyway, now that he's split with Al-Qaeda, he's in charge of the newly found Al-Murabitun, I didn't say that right, I'm sure, which is Arabic for sentinels or guardian. It's emerged between Belmokhtar's Masked Men Brigade and the Mali-based Movement for Oneness and Jihad in West Africa. Now, Belmokhtar gained international notoriety? Last year, with his group's first big attack on a gas field in Algeria, militants captured 800 hostages. The Algerian forces intervened, but 39 people still died. Now, the guy is like a lifetime fugitive. A $5 million bounty is out. He's been sentenced to life in prison in Algeria, and he's basically awaiting death in absentia. Anyway, here's a report that shows the Algerian gas plant bombing.
Mokhtar Belmokhtar was the Al-Qaeda commander behind the hostage-taking assault on the Inamenis gas plant in Algeria in January. 60 people were killed in the attack. During this video, Belmokhtar claimed responsibility. Now, armed forces in Chad say they've killed the terrorist leader.
L'état-major général des armées porte à la connaissance.
The provisional toll of the combat is as follows. Many terrorists have been killed, including their leader, Mokhtar Belmokhtar. 60 vehicles in good condition have been recovered. Various materials of war, notably electronic material, have been recovered, and the military operations continue.
La principale base des djihadistes.
French and American officials have not been able to confirm the killing of Belmokhtar.
All right, so that's it. And of course, there are several more guys like Sylvester Madakumura, the current leader of the FDLR. That's the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda. And you know they're reigning terror in the DRC. And many of those fighters were also involved in the Rwanda genocide. And don't forget about the Seleka group that is currently fighting in the Central African Republic. You know those guys are doing some serious trouble there. Anyway, I don't know. But if you look at it, the common theme around these guys' environments are instability, poverty, and just simply bad governance. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Now tell me, did I leave out anyone? Tell me, do you live in one of these areas where rebels have taken over? I want to hear from you, wherever you are. Email me at thebreakwithtracy@gmail.com, or you can find me on Twitter at @thebreak_Tracy. I'm also on Facebook. Just type in The Break with Tracy and you'll find me. Thanks for watching.